So this is going to be a completely different content style than what I've been doing. So maybe you'll like it and maybe you won't. Either way, here is True Detective: What Happened. Nick Pizzolto and Cary Fukunga, and I'm sorry if I'm saying those names wrong, their show True Detective originally aired on HBO in 2014 and was an immediate success, being one of the biggest shows of 2014. It took a story we saw 1,000 times. Detectives with two different styles must put away their differences to work as partners and solve a murder. And yet, somehow, it gave us something we have never seen before and probably never will. The gritty western noir takes place in towns so small we've never heard of them. Deep in rural Louisiana, with the murders being bizarre and extreme killings, with the show holding nothing back in the content and in the serious nature of the events. It doesn't have any moments of forced comedy. It takes itself very seriously. It's a bleak, depressing take on a subject matter that is bleak and depressing. It deals with divorce, infidelity, rape, underage sex workers, grooming, self-harm, suicide, drug use, racists, pedophilia, corrupt government, corrupt religious figures. It even questions religion, asking if there's a God or not, and this is all just the tip of the iceberg. While the show was dealing with subjects many others have been too afraid to discuss, having the two detectives as well-established movie stars, Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson, the actors only highlighted the already fantastic story that kept audience members engaged constantly. And with the success of season 1, the show was destined for a second season. And another season and another, all of which have disappointed the fan base again and again. It seems that no matter what HBO does, it simply cannot capture season 1. All this leads to the question, why? What made season 1 so special that the others have disappointed the audiences so much? Or maybe what's more important is what's different from the other seasons? Well, for starters, the director has changed. While Nick Pizzolatto has remained on as the writer for season 2 and 3, and then as a producer on 4, Cary Fukunga left as the director after season 1, alongside Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson also leaving. And with each season of True Detective, there's actually a completely different director and a different set of famous actors as buddy cops. But they do keep with the same formula. 2 or more cops with different morals of justice must work together to solve a murder. Each season, they always keep a gritty and realistic tone and deal with heavy, realistic, and dark subjects. Many of the seasons follow a non-linear storyline as well, something that season 1 was known for, as the events of that story are told through an interrogation. Now, if you haven't watched True Detective, it might sound like they took everything about season 1 and copy and pasted it again and again, and the show is probably just suffering from audience fatigue. But this isn't the case. In fact, the show has actually grown in popularity mostly because of season 1, and with the latest release of season 4, it saw the highest ratings of all time within the show. But remember, the audience of the show keep agreeing that the seasons aren't as good compared to season 1, leaving us to realize that they aren't coming back because they like these seasons. They're coming back in hopes that they'll finally be as good as season 1 again. So let's look at what we know. The show has had different directors and a new writer, but each director is well enough established that I don't think we can blame the director. We know that the actors change, but again, they replace them with Hollywood A-list actors who I don't think anyone can deny do their best with the material that they're given. And we look at the basic elements of the story, and they also all revolve around the same basic murder mystery in rural America with cop partners butting heads. So what is it then? Why can't we get this back, this fantastic show? We're creating it just as we know, but it's failing over and over. What is it missing? The answer? Characters we connect with. No, I'm not talking about the actors themselves, though of course their performance carries a lot of this, but the actual original detective characters of Russ Cole and Marty Hart. In season 1 of the show, we connected with these characters. Not just cared for, or were concerned about them, or found them interesting, no. All this was a part of it because deep down, we connected with them. This is what the other shows missed. See, in season 1, Russ and Marty are not your normal protagonists. As I said, this is a very adult-themed show, and Russ and Marty are bad people. It's even addressed in the show when Marty asks Russ,
Do you wonder ever you're a bad man?
No, I don't wonder, Marty. World needs bad men. We keep the other bad men from the door.
At its core, this is what True Detective is about. The fact that there isn't just a black and white form of justice, but about whether or not you're doing bad for bad or bad for good. And Russ and Marty do both. Russ cheats with Marty's wife and does drugs, steals evidence, he kidnaps someone. And Marty cheats on his wife multiple times and sleeps with someone whose age is left a little too ambiguous. And he's also an abusive father. All of this we see play out and we disagree with, but we also find ourselves justifying why they're doing these things, why the strain of the case and the things they have seen is getting to them. We hate it, but in a way, we understand why they're doing it. And then, when it comes to the climax, we see them do even more terrible and illegal things. They lie about the case and fake a crime scene. They even kill someone in an execution. And yet, we excuse it. We watch these characters completely, with there rarely being a scene without Russ or Marty. We watch these events through their eyes, and we're so finally relieved that when the terrible events we've watched these two people have to deal with and witness are finally coming to an end, we completely understand why they're doing these bad things. And we might even agree that it's for the best, that it's for good, even though on the surface, it is bad. It's this connection to the characters that just isn't there in the later seasons. Sure, we care about them. These are interesting characters, and yes, we want to see them find justice. And yes, following the trope, they also are dirty cops. But it seems that this dirty cop trope has been lost. Take the latest season, for example, with the two cops, Danvers, played by Jodie Foster, and Callie Reyes as Navarro. Again, sorry if I'm butchering their name. Both actors did a wonderful job playing these characters. And again, I want to stress that this isn't the acting, but the characters themselves and how we follow and connect with them, which has much more to do with the writing and scene structure than anything else. But in this latest season, Danvers takes on the face of the cop hardened by time on the force and by the loss of her child. But she comes off, and forgive my French, as just an asshole. And Navarro also comes off as just a sad cop with anger issues. There's nothing that keeps us connected to them. And even by the end of the show, we see Jodie Foster soften and accept losing her child, and Navarro find a new form of peace. And yet, we don't nearly care the same amount. This is because of how much we don't explore these characters, how much we haven't grown with them. We are almost told, okay, these are the people, this is what they are like, and that's it. Unlike season 1, we're never forced down the path of bad decisions with these characters. In fact, season 1 of True Detective goes even further with playing on your connection with the characters. Because as we understand these people and we finally feel that all these terrible circumstances that are unfolding are over, suddenly the characters are thrusted back. Now, not only are you connected with them, you can't help but sympathize with these characters when it happens again, When the horrors you just so desperately fought to get rid of come back, and it breaks you just as it breaks the characters. To see it happen again, to know what is going to take place, it's terrifying. And it makes you angry and is depressing because you know it's going to bring back that dark part of the characters and that dark part of you to find a conclusion again. Suddenly, not only are we connected to these characters and understand their reasoning, but now we understand what their emotions are in these moments. This, to put it plainly, is amazing storytelling and is not something that can be achieved easily, and is exactly what is missing in the later seasons of True Detective. We don't have this connection. We have the character and might find them enjoyable or complex, but the connection just isn't there. As I roll the video to an end, I can't help but think that such a well-crafted story should have more than likely just stood on its own. We don't really need any more seasons of True Detective. And can we really blame them for being worse when they're just trying to copy something so hard to create? I think the answer is a simple no. And no, we don't really need the other seasons. But they do exist, though missing that special part of Season 1. And with the recent announcement of Season 5, I can only hope that the writers look back on Season 1 not for the story elements, but in hopes of finding what made the connections to the characters so special, and can bring even a sliver of that back, as I think that would be the good step forward in the right direction for the show. But hey, at the end of the day, this is all just my opinion, and I would love to hear yours. Do you agree with me, or think maybe there's a different reason? Who knows, maybe you even like the other seasons just as much or more. Let me know in the comments below. But for now, and as always, thanks for watching.